Between 1928 and 1934, Carl Jung introduced one of the most disturbing truths in modern psychology: that a man's deepest suffering often comes not from failure, but from his obsession with being desired. Jung called it the Anima projection, the unconscious tendency of men to place the ideal feminine image onto real women and then chase them as if they held the key to his soul. But they don't, and they never did. Most men believe their availability makes them strong, always showing up, always giving, always ready to be chosen. But Jung saw this differently. The man who cannot withdraw from the feminine is not whole. He is incomplete and dependent. In today's world, that dependence has become a lifestyle. Men are conditioned to seek their worth through female validation, through hearts on a screen, attention in a crowd, or lust behind a message. And in doing so, they become predictable, exhausted, empty. Jung's process of individuation demands something harder than self-improvement. It demands a man leave behind his illusions, especially the illusion that being wanted equals being powerful. How many men feel valuable only when they're admired? How many feel lost when they're not desired? And how many call that love when it's really just fear? This isn't masculinity. It's a form of emotional slavery, dressed up as modern romance. The truth is, the masculine path doesn't begin with women. It begins the moment you stop offering your soul for validation. When you stop being available to women, you start becoming available to yourself. That's the first step, and most men never take it. Carl Jung taught that one of the greatest traps a man falls into is believing in emotional equality, the idea that men and women experience feelings and attachment in the same way. This is a dangerous illusion. Women, Jung said, operate largely through emotional connection and relational energy. Men, however, must learn to anchor themselves through internal stability, a steady, unshakable sense of self. When a man tries to meet a woman on her emotional terms without first building this foundation, he gives away his power. He becomes available in ways that do not serve his growth, but rather feed a cycle of dependency and confusion. In this state, a man's emotions are no longer his own. They become a reflection of a woman's moods, desires, and expectations. He chases validation like a shadow, hoping to catch a glimpse of approval. This is why so many men feel lost when the attention fades or when the woman pulls away, because their sense of self was never theirs to begin with. Jung's concept of individuation is the antidote. It means becoming whole enough to stand alone, emotionally independent, unshaken by rejection or desire. To detach is not to hate or withdraw in bitterness. It is to reclaim your own center, to stop giving your energy away to a fleeting need for approval. Only then does a man begin to grow beyond the surface games of lust and affection. Only then can he face the raw truth. Power comes from not needing to be needed. True freedom is not in being chosen, it is in choosing yourself first. To truly stop being available to women is not simply about absence or silence. It is about choosing yourself over the craving for approval, even when it hurts. Carl Jung showed us that this detachment is the crucible where men are forged. In that solitude, away from constant validation, a man begins to reclaim his power. Because when you walk away from being available, something strange happens. You become less vulnerable and, paradoxically, more magnetic. Women do not respect what they can always have. They respect the man who does not depend on their approval. This is not manipulation. This is authenticity. It's the difference between chasing shadows and standing in your own light. But this transformation demands brutal honesty. You must confront your deepest fears of loneliness, rejection, and insignificance. Most men flee from this confrontation. They rush back into availability, craving the temporary comfort of attention. But those who endure the solitude discover a secret. Power is born in the space where desire no longer controls you. If you want to unlock this power and understand the masculine path, as Carl Jung saw it, then subscribe now. Join Psychronics and dive deeper into the philosophy of becoming a man who stands unshaken. Because the journey beyond availability is the journey to freedom, and it starts with a single choice. Carl Jung taught that every man carries within him an unconscious feminine side, the anima. This anima is the source of emotional life, creativity, and connection, but it is also the root of many men's struggles with availability and desire. When a man projects his anima outward, he places unrealistic expectations on women. He sees them not as they are, but as the embodiment of his inner needs and fears. This projection creates a cycle of longing and disappointment, keeping him trapped in dependency. To break free, a man must internalize his anima. He must bring those feminine qualities into conscious awareness within himself. This does not mean losing masculinity. It means becoming whole. By understanding and integrating the anima, a man stops chasing illusions. He no longer needs to be available to fill emotional gaps that only he can heal. This integration leads to emotional maturity, a state where desire is balanced by self-control and connection is based on respect rather than need. In this space, men find strength not in being wanted, but in being complete. There comes a moment in a man's life where everything he once believed about love, desire, and validation begins to collapse. That moment feels like death, but it is, in truth, a rebirth. Carl Jung believed the masculine journey was not about becoming more desirable, but about becoming more real. And to become real, a man must first endure the collapse of all the false selves he's built to be loved. The nice guy, the available one, the emotionally open servant, the man who waits, hoping to be chosen. This man must die, not because kindness is weakness, but because submission to desire is. Too many men live their entire lives trapped in the performance of availability, answering every text, listening endlessly without boundaries, giving gifts, time, energy, just to feel seen. But the truth is cruel. The more you offer yourself freely, the less you are respected. Not because women are cruel, but because human nature is wired to devalue what is too accessible. Carl Jung understood this on a spiritual level. The psyche yearns for tension, for mystery, for polarity. A man who is always there becomes invisible, and the man who is unafraid to disappear becomes unforgettable. Walking away isn't an act of anger. It is an act of sovereignty. It means you are no longer held hostage by your need to be wanted. You no longer check your worth in someone else's eyes. You do not wait. You build. You lead. You become. You stop arguing with rejection. You stop chasing what doesn't chase back. You realize that the most dangerous man is not the one who can seduce, but the one who can walk away without flinching. This is the man who has mastered the anima within. He no longer looks for feminine approval to feel whole, because he has faced himself and won. You begin to live not in reaction, but in creation. And as you do, the world changes. You become less emotional, but more alive. Less addicted to praise, more grounded in purpose. You no longer offer your time just to be noticed. You offer your presence as a gift, but only to those who have earned it. This is not arrogance. It is the maturity of a man who has walked through fire and come out untouchable. So if you're still waiting to be chosen, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped waiting and started becoming. Because when you stop being available to women, you don't become bitter. You become powerful. You become free.